Hi, Marquita Curtis Haynes here. I am the CEO and the founder of the lifestyle brand Ageless Glamour Girls and host of the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast. Now, a question for you. How old are you? Taboo question, right? Especially back in the day to ask a woman her age. Come on. But seriously, how old are you? Or better yet, how old do you feel? And what's that all about? Today's guest on the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast walks and talks all things aging and longevity and can help you get your groove back. I love her. She's in her 70s. Yes, 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 please. She knows her stuff. I can't wait for you to meet her. But first, we have to take a little break. But we'll be back in a flash, a hot flash. Welcome back to the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast, where we talk all things aging on this wonderful, invigorating, but challenging, but transformative ageless aging journey. We talk everything. Now, and speaking of ageless aging journey, let me introduce you to our guest. She's Maddy Dychtwald. She's an award-winning author, public speaker, and thought leader on longevity, aging, and the new retirement. Out with the old and in with the new, as we say. And that's one of the things that she takes on in her new book. It's called Ageless Aging, A Woman's Guide to Increasing Healthspan, Brainspan, and Lifespan. Welcome to the show, Maddy.
Thank you, Marquita. It's great to be here with you and your listening audience.
Thank you. I just want to point out, I love the eye-opening words in your book description, the definitive women's guide to live better and longer. You write, we're in the midst of a longevity revolution and women are leading the way, living an average of 6 years longer than men. So that means if you're already a 50-year-old woman, chances are you will live an average of 35 more years.
Yeah, that's right.
That's amazing. And on top of that, women compromise 80% of centenarians.
That's right.
Now who are the fastest growing segment of the world's population. That's to be applauded. But of course, on the downside, you're right, women are not necessarily living well. More on that later. But I just want to start out with, you have been in this longevity game forever, it seems. You're not new to this aging game. You and your husband founded the internationally known think tank Age Wave. Tell us about Age Wave.
Yeah, let me begin by saying we're all in this aging game. So there's not one of us who is not aging. So let's start there.
I don't care what you do. You cannot stop that clock.
Yeah, no. And, it's a good thing. The alternative we know is not good. So, yeah, let's applaud this aging game and recognize that it is a process, not an end game. So that's something to keep in mind. Ken and I started Age Wave close to 40 years ago. So if you do the math, I started in my early 30s. I'm in my 70s now. So I am definitely in this aging game and moving towards the living longer and hopefully living better also. But when we started Age Wave, people assumed that 50 was over the hill, that older people didn't buy things, didn't care about things. They were just very set in their ways. And we set out to change that reality, to create a more positive image of aging. And I think that we did that. We thought of ourselves as the Paul Revere's of aging, planting seeds all over the country, especially with corporate leaders. We'd go into corporations, do keynote speeches on how aging is really changing. And they began to hear the message and create more positive advertisements and lean their products more towards the older adult. And most importantly, recognizing that if you're 50 or 60 or even 70, you're not necessarily over the hill at all.
That's right. That's right. And we need those voices amplified. So thank you for everything you do in that space, you and your husband and your organization, because we need that.
Yeah, we do. We definitely, unfortunately, we still do need that, because there's still this pervasive feeling that aging rather than being a process, is something that's like negative and that happens to us once we hit 50 or 60,
Mhm.
and that we should be shunned or moved to the side. And that just is not the case.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And if you look at advertisers, I haven't checked recently, but that sweet spot is cutting off at 50, 55, with their advertisement, their targets. But you know what? I think I read last year that starting last year or else this year and for the next couple of years, a record number of people are turning 65. So there's that. So people need to start paying attention.
Oh, yeah. The fastest growing segments of our population
Mhm,
historically have been young people.
mhm,
And so that's a lot of where advertisers and consumers even put their energy. But what's been happening over the last several decades
mhm.
is that people are not having babies the way they used to.
Right,
So the
right.
younger populations are not growing very fast. And in fact, the fastest growing segments of our population are the oldest segments of our population.
Mhm.
And that has never happened before.
Never. And this is why, like I said, advertisers, companies, they need to pay attention. They
Yeah,
need to
and
pay
some
attention.
of them are, like insurance companies are a little bit,
Mhm,
certainly financial services companies who really try to encourage people to save for, to, and through retirement. And of course, the whole pharmaceutical industry. If you watch any morning TV or evening newscast, you'll notice that almost all the commercials are aimed at older adults, and they're
indeed.
all about, making your life better through pharmaceutical products.
That is so true. It's a totally different target audience from when you watch football games, right?
Absolutely,
Oh
yes.
my God, a different ad space. All right, thank you for that. As you mentioned, as we mentioned earlier, and you point out in your book, we're living much longer, which on the face of things sounds great. But what's the downside? And I don't want to call it a downside, but why should older women pay much closer attention to the fact that we are living longer? Where should we target our energies?
Yeah. Well, first, keep in mind that women and men are not the same. We are literally not the same. And yet, through the world of medicine and healthcare, and we get this assumption that the studies that have been done primarily with men, that they apply to women.
Mhm,
So let's take that notion and throw it to the side, and instead recognize that, yes, as we've said several times already, women live an average of about 6 years longer than men. We've won the longevity lottery.
mhm,
However, the bad news is that when it comes to health span and brain span, which is the number of healthy years you live and the
mhm,
number of healthy years your brain is
mhm,
functioning,
mhm.
we're not doing as well as men. And that's definitely not good news. And by the way, that's even when you correct for the fact that we live longer than men.
Mm,
So our health spans do not match our lifespans. In fact, the average woman spends the last 12 to 14 years in a cascade of declining health, things like heart disease and strokes potentially, and uh, pain. Pain
mm.
is a huge one for women.
Pain
Um,
and depression, the mental health. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's
Mhm,
Alzheimer's disease. I mean,
mhm,
it's a scary thing. However, there is a bright side to this, and
mhm.
that is that there are steps that each and every one of us can take to reverse this reality, and that is something that's what I focus on in ageless aging.
Yes, yes. And we're going to get to that in a few seconds. But first, why ageless aging? I love that phrase. And what does that mean to you, ageless aging?
Yeah.
The
Uh,
name of your book, of
When
course.
I was coming up with a name for this book, I went back to a keynote presentation I was doing at a house spa, the Golden Door, back in the 1990s. And I was meeting with a bunch of women who were high level executives, mostly 40s, 50s, 60s. And we were talking about this whole aging game and how it was really harder for women. And
Mhm,
we started trying to come up with words that would really help alleviate that negativity.
mhm.
And so I opened up the dictionary, I looked up the word ageless, and the first word that I saw was timeless. Now, I loved that. I thought the idea that we can hold back the hands of time,
Yeah.
no, that's not happening. Cannot hold back the hands
No,
of
no fountain.
time.
Where's that fountain of youth? No, I'm sorry. Just go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But what we can do, which is really good news, is we can take steps
Mhm,
to live more agelessly, to live more timelessly, if you will,
mhm.
through those added years of life. And that's why I've picked the word ageless. I thought, you know what? It's not about chronology. Chronology is just one measure of aging, the
Mhm.
number of birthdays that you've had. It's about other things like how you feel, how you look, what kind of things that you're involved in your life, your social connections.
Oh,
These are the things that
these are
really start to matter as one lives longer.
okay. Yes, yes, I believe it. All of that. Now, again, in the title of your book, you said it's called "Ageless Aging: Woman's Guide to Increasing Health Span, Brain Span, and Lifespan." Can you? And I know you've touched on a little bit. Can you break down those three for us and how they all interconnect?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so let's start with the last one, which is lifespan.
Mhm.
Lifespan is the number of years that you live. It's your life. It's the number of years you. Let me start that over.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so lifespan is the number of years that we live. It's that simple. Health span is the number of healthy years that we live. And that's oftentimes a little bit different than the number of years that we live. And what we want to do is better match those so that you live as many years of your life in good health as possible. Now, brain span is a newer word, one that we don't really hear that often. Somebody told me recently that I might have been the first one that they heard use that word.
Mm,
So let me try to define that. Brain span has to do with how well your brain is functioning as you live longer. Because if you're going to live a long life and you're not cognitively doing well,
mhm,
it's not
mhm.
going to be a good experience.
No. Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Hmm.
Yeah. So those are the three words that you wanted to know about. And, it's pretty easy to wrap your hands around them and to recognize that, yeah, there's things. The most important thing is we want to be able to match our health span and our brain span to our lifespan. Now, there's a lot of emphasis out there in the world of longevity about adding years to your life.
Hmm.
Well, sure, that's great if those years can be healthy and brain functioning.
Hmm. Hmm. So how do we? Let's start with the brain, for example, the brain span. How do we improve our brain span?
Yeah. Well, first, keep in mind that women are twice as likely to suffer from Alzheimer's disease as men.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, take that statistic in. That is a really scary statistic.
Hmm.
So you've got to think to yourself, okay, like we have a disadvantage going into this brain span thing.
Hmm.
What do we do? Well, there's a simple recipe, and I'll try to elaborate on it a little bit. But the simple recipe is what's good for the heart is also good for the brain. So you want to eat a real food diet
Hmm.
that's very eat the rainbow. And I don't mean eating cereals that are multicolored. I
Oh
mean
no.
eating everything from beets to broccoli to carrots to whole grains. You want to eat the rainbow.
Hmm.
And you want to get rid of those ultra processed foods, the
Hmm.
seed oils. You want to get them out of your life. You want to get rid of those ultra processed foods and seed oils.
Now, seed
Sugar,
oils. Give us an example of seed oils.
seed oil is like safflower oil.
Hmm.
It's yeah. You want that out of your life. You go through your pantry and look at what is in there and take
Hmm.
out anything with if you're unclear about the definition and you can't hold on to what I'm saying here, corn oils, safflower oils,
Hmm.
sunflower seed oils. I mean, these are all seed oils that you do not want in your life. And it's very important to get them out. Instead, use all kinds of extra virgin olive oil. That is the best thing you can do. In fact, all the longevity biohackers, they're taking like a spoonful of olive oil every day and
Really?
eating it straight up because it's
What?
that good for you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good.
it's crazy. So
That,
what else? Exercise.
mm-hmm,
Exercise is like a silver bullet. You definitely want to do it. And as you get older, it's not just about cardio. There's a variety of different aspects of exercise that you want to incorporate into your life. The most important being strengthening exercises,
mm-hmm,
because as early as in your 40s, you
mm-hmm,
begin to lose muscle mass. That's called sarcopenia. And that is not something you want to have happen, because it not only affects your ability to be strong and have strong bones and strong muscles and better balance, it
mm-hmm,
also affects your brain.
mm,
So, yeah, you definitely want to do that. Sleep, getting a good 7 to 8 hours of
phew,
sleep a night, amazing. And by
crucial.
the yeah, one of the great hacks that I have found
Mm-hmm,
is that there's a real relationship between your gut and your brain. So taking a probiotic every day
mm-hmm.
can really help strengthen your brain as well as your gut. So those are a few things.
Now you mentioned probiotics. So if I eat like 2 or 3 ounces of Greek yogurt, is that instead of a supplement? Would that
Yeah,
matter?
that's a good start.
Mm-hmm,
But I really do think that none of us get enough of the kinds of good bacteria and getting rid of the bad bacteria in our gut, which, by the way, through the vagus nerve, travel up to our brain.
mm-hmm,
We want to really handle that and handle it well. I just recently started taking a new probiotic that they I was at the A4M meeting, which is the American Association of Anti-Aging Medicine. They were
oh,
doing a
oh,
women's health summit,
mm-hmm,
and I gave one of the keynotes.
nice.
And somebody came up to me and offered me a free sample of a probiotic that they said, this is not just good for your gut, it's good for your sleep, it's good for your brain. Anyway, they said, try it for 7 to 10 days. I bet you'll see your sleep improve. And you know what? It did improve. I
Wow.
was shocked. I was really
Wow.
shocked. I mean, I've been sleeping better, and sleep is definitely not my superpower,
Yeah,
but
right,
I have
right.
been sleeping better than I ever did before.
Okay, you're gonna have to not here, but afterwards. You're gonna have to tell me that so I can somehow share it with the rest
Okay, yeah,
the rest of
too.
the
I
team.
was really thrilled about it.
Oh
So,
my gosh,
I
game
don't like
changer.
to tout different products particularly, but
Right.
this was kind of a game changer.
Wow. I'm so happy about that. I'm
And
excited
it's
to find out
based on
what that
science out
is.
of Harvard.
Mm, mm. And getting to what you were saying earlier about men and women, we're totally different. Like my husband,
We
he
are.
somehow can get like 5 hours of sleep, and he's amazing the rest of the day. And I have to have at least 7. Okay, 6.5, but 7, I have to, or I can't function. Really, I can't function.
You're actually in better shape than he is because getting a little bit more sleep is actually much better for your brain.
I like that. Yeah, just go that
Gets rid
extra
of,
mile.
and part of the reason people say, well, why? You need the kind of sleep, the deep sleep that allows your brain to basically take out the trash. I mean, get rid of those neurotoxins that build up. Get that stuff out. And that's when your brain does it, when you're sleeping.
Healing. That's your healing time.
That is absolutely your healing time.
Hmm, hmm. Um, I want to talk about this. I didn't know until I read, your book that there are 3 kinds of aging:
Yeah,
chronological, psychological, and physical or
that's right.
biological aging. Fascinating.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So we know about chronologic aging. That's the number of birthdays we have. And yeah, we celebrate those hopefully,
Yeah.
rather than say, oh, ooh, I don't even want to acknowledge those birthdays.
Mhm, mhm,
So there's that. There's the chronologic aging. Then there's the biologic or physical aging. And that's like how old are the cells, the muscles, the fibers within your body? How old are they?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
would say, oh, well, how am I supposed to know how old they're? Well, there are tests now available that let you know what your biologic age is. And I recently did one. And as I said before, I'm 74 years old. And according to these tests, which who knows how accurate they are, although they are getting more and more accurate,
Right, right.
I was 51. So I like that.
Sweet. And for that, you get an extra glass of wine. No, no, just kidding. More on that later. That's
But
good to
the
know.
third kind of aging is
Uh-huh.
really important. That's the psychological or emotional aging. And it's one of the bonuses of getting older. I mean, you feel like, oh, there's so many bad things that come from getting older in terms of your physical health and well being. But your emotional, from studies that have been done, we know that as we get older, we have a little bit less stress. We actually, our happiness can actually increase from the age of about 50 on. And our level of anxiety can actually decrease. And you're like, well, why? Well, I think it has to do with this building of resilience. I mean, the older we get, the more bad things we've gone through and gotten to the other side of. And we got to see, okay, that wasn't so terrible.
Mhm, mhm.
Maybe I can find ways to cope with whatever is going on that may not feel positive more effectively and recognize that I will get to the other side of it.
Right, right. You're so right about that. I've noticed that with myself, stuff in the past. I mean, I still get a little crazy over, and I hate that word crazy. I don't like using that word. I get a little anxious over certain things, but not as much as I used to. I'm like, choo, choo, choo. For my sanity and my heart
Yeah,
health.
absolutely. For your sanity. And then we also learn coping techniques. Like for instance, I know when I'm starting to get anxious,
Uh-huh.
I do some breathing exercise. I do the boxed breathing, 4 breaths in, hold for four out, and then hold for another 4. And if I do that for 2 or 3 minutes, it really calms me down.
You know what? That's interesting. I'm going to try that because I see that every once in a while. But what did you call that, Brock?
Boxed breathing.
Oh,
So
box
it's a box,
breathing.
4, 4, 4, and 4.
Duh, 4 and 4, and I had my coffee already. Four, I like that. I'm going to try that. And when what you mentioned earlier about the strength and getting stronger and taking steps to do that, I'm noticing a lot more on Instagram, for example, and Facebook, a lot more accounts that talk about mobility and the little simple things that we can do, like standing at the sink and standing on one leg while you're doing something. Of course, the beauty of that is you're with a counter. There's something to grab onto in case you start to
Right.
fall.
And the
Um,
idea is to not hold on.
really? No,
Oh,
no. I'm saying
yeah.
if you're at the kitchen counter and you're standing on one leg and you might
Well, you
get.
can always, like, be close enough to grab on if you lose your
Yeah, yeah. That's
balance.
what I'm talking about.
But
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but the idea is it's a yoga pose,
Mhm.
and it's, standing on one leg. It's called the flamingo,
Yes, believe me.
and I talk about it in Ageless Aging as a test that you could take. So standing on one leg, taking the other leg and putting your ankle in right above your knee. And if you feel like you're okay, I'm pretty balanced, then you take your arms and you put them over your head like so.
Mhm.
And if you can hold that pose for 10 seconds and then go over to the other side and do that, you may not be able to do that right away, but over a period of days and weeks and maybe months, you're
Mhm.
going to be able to do that. And that's going to increase your balance. And if you
Right.
can increase your balance, you're less likely to fall and break a hip or something else. And
Mhm.
that's a good thing.
Yep. Totally, totally. Only
And
for
it
10 seconds.
doesn't
I
cost
like
a
that.
penny.
Yes, yes. 10 seconds on each side.
10 seconds on
I
each
think that.
side.
Now, the one that I also see, and I'm like, maybe in my lifetime I can do it, is getting up from the floor without any assistance without touching anything. You've seen that. You could probably do that. But
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
well, actually, I've had a double hip replacement, so it's a little hard for me to do, but
mhm,
I can come close to doing it, and I think, again, it's about practice, and it's not just getting up, it's like getting down, so cross your legs and get down without touching anything, and for every one thing that you have to hold on to, it's okay, but
it's okay.
the next time you do it, maybe you'll have to hold one less thing. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's about functional
Mhm.
movement. And
Right.
this functional movement it's a huge part
Mhm.
of aging well is to be able to function well in your body.
Yeah. Yeah. The one body that we have. Yes. Take care
The
of it.
one body that we have, of course,
Uh,
some of us have created some bionic parts, including me. I had a double hip replacement when I was 68 years old, which is pretty
wow.
young to be doing that. And I did both hips at one time. And in the process of doing it,
Uh-huh.
um, I actually had hip dysplasia, which is a common thing, but usually it's corrected when you're an infant, but I'm so old. I've been living for such
You're
a
so
long time.
what? You're so what?
People didn't even know that hip dysplasia existed
I've
when
never
I was a
heard of
baby.
it. Mhm.
Yeah, and most people haven't heard about it, but because
Until
I'm
you're born.
very active and I exercise a lot, I was bone on bone in both my hips.
Mm,
And I asked the doctor, okay, what should I do? And he goes, get a double hip replacement, do it both at once. Here's a doctor who specializes in it. So I went to the doctor, which was great. He's terrific. And,
mhm.
but he couldn't see me to do the surgery for months. So I said to him, okay, what should I do in the meantime? And he said to me, get a cane. And I'm like, I don't think that that's what I want to be doing. I think I want to enable, not and empower, not just get by.
Right.
And so I did some homework and I called up, one of the great things about working at AgeWave is I've developed this network of
Mhm,
experts like
mhm.
scientists, doctors, researchers who are all at the cutting edge of aging and longevity. And I called a bunch of them and I got some good answers. And one of the answers was like amazing for me. And that was to change my diet. And honestly, I was already eating a really healthy diet, but
Mhm,
they said, okay, you want to go on an anti-inflammatory
mhm,
diet. And I'm like,
mhm,
what the heck is that?
mhm,
And they said, okay, cut out all gluten, cut out all dairy, and cut out as much sugar as you can.
mhm.
So I did it, and by the way, it wasn't that hard at all because there's so many gluten-free products these days. And, cutting out dairy, well, it wasn't so terrible. And sugar was, it's in everything. So you have to really work hard to try to make
You
that happen. But the good news is that within 6 weeks,
mhm.
all the pain in my hips went away. And I was
All of the
in
pain.
horrible
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
pain.
whoa, whoa, whoa. All of the pain.
All of the pain. I mean, I
Oh,
didn't
good
have
thing.
to have the surgery.
Right,
Well, I mean, I because of the pain anyway. I
right,
still had
right,
it because I was bone on bone, but
right.
and then the good news is with the surgery, I mean, I call it pre-covery,
Mhm,
getting prepared for some kind of big surgical experience or a small
mhm,
one too.
mhm, mhm.
Um, so the doctor said, okay, you're going to be in the hospital for about 5 days. You'll be able to walk at home, but you'll be using a cane or a walker. And I said, I don't know about that. So because of doing this diet,
Mhm,
staying on exercise, doing a variety of affirmations for myself, the doctors and the nurses, and
mhm.
starting to meditate, all those things together, I was out of the hospital in one day. And
Wow.
yeah, it was incredible. And then when
Yeah.
I came home, and we have a lot of stairs in our house,
Mhm.
within 2 days, I was able to walk without any assistance. So
Up and down the stairs.
oh, the stairs, I still used a cane,
Uh-huh,
but for anything else,
uh-huh.
I was able, and flat surfaces, I was able to walk without any assistance.
Wow.
And I walked like a duck, but I still was able to walk.
Right,
And
right,
it was
right.
so empowering to be able to,
Right?
conquer these
Yes.
barriers so
Yes.
effectively.
The little wins. I've been through a lot myself, and it's like when you make those baby steps and you accomplish it and you're
Yeah,
looking at this, it's like a win for your heart, which is a win for your brain. Of course,
that's right.
it's all together. Thanks for sharing that story about your hip replacements, your double hip replacements. Because in my community, I do hear hear from women. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I need a hip replacement. Oh my goodness, I need a knee replacement." So this is great information to know. Very
Yeah,
encouraging.
really helps. It's very, very practical action steps.
Mhm. Um, there's so many great things in your book, but another thing I read about was the ageless aging self assessment, the age accelerants and the age decelerants.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so it's really pretty, again, very practical,
Mhm,
very action oriented. I made a list of those things that make you age faster.
mhm,
Those are age accelerants.
mhm,
And then those things that help, and we're talking physical aging,
mhm,
the bad kind of aging, the kind of aging we dread. And
mhm,
then there's age decelerants, things that will help you to to live better longer, to,
mhm,
to
mhm.
really stay healthy and vibrant and youthful, and to stay all those things longer, healthy being the key one. So
Right.
just as an example, we already talked about sleep. You mentioned the fact that you get about 7 hours a night sleep.
Mhm,
That's an age decelerant. So by sleeping 7 hours,
mhm,
you're doing great. If you slept less than 7 hours, like your husband,
mhm,
that's an age accelerant. He's going to age a little bit faster.
mhm,
So
mhm.
we talked a little bit about food. If you're eating ultra processed foods, that is an age accelerant. You're going to age faster.
Oh my gosh, and there's so many articles coming out about that. It's
That's
like they're
right.
pounding over our head. And I'm like, I
And
can't
then the
get
decelerants.
uh-huh.
The decelerants are, eating the rainbow, like having a
Mhm,
great salad for lunch.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
a great age decelerant. Meditation, just meditating 10 minutes a day, that is an age decelerant. It will help you age better, longer. So another one that's really great is our attitudes. Again, many of these things do not cost a penny.
Right.
So like there have been studies that have been done in the Midwest, um, longitudinal
Mhm,
longitudinal studies that have been done, looking at people's attitudes towards their own aging and the aging of those around them. Interesting concept, right? So if
mhm,
you feel
mhm,
positive about your own aging,
mhm.
chances are you're going to live another 7 to 10 years.
That's amazing.
That is amazing, and it really impacts
Mindfulness,
your
that
health.
mindfulness, wow.
That's right.
Uh-huh,
Talk about mindfulness. This is
mhm,
mindfulness in action. And it doesn't cost a penny just to like change, flick that switch in your brain that,
mhm,
okay, aging, it's great, not
mhm,
bad,
mhm.
great.
Okay, I like that. And, also, like you said, I'm adding up these times. You said 10 minutes for each side when you're doing this and you're standing up on one leg,
The
right?
flamingo
I mean,
test,
10
right.
seconds. You said 10 seconds rather.
I
10
did say
seconds
10
on each
seconds.
side.
If you could do it for 10 minutes, awesome.
That's a win. That's a big win. And then you just mentioned 10 again, 10 minutes of meditation, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you really, most of the meditation people will say, oh, you need to do 20 minutes twice a day. That's traditional TM.
Mhm.
If you can do 10 a day, that's a win. That is really good. It's a great way to clear your mind, especially in these times where there's so much turmoil in terms of politics and the economy, and the holidays are about to come upon us,
Mhm.
creating a lot of stress for people. It's a good way to just get rid of some of those bad feelings and thoughts.
Yeah, because yeah, yeah, and people don't realize, the holidays, the traffic, the increase in traffic, everything just drives up that anxiety. And you know what? You mentioned something earlier when you were at that conference. It was, I think you said it was women's medicine, women's supplements, or something
Yeah.
like that, right? You know
Women's
what?
Health Summit. Yeah.
Yes. Did they? Because I'm seeing a lot more articles too about ADHD and how more older women are being diagnosed with ADHD, but yet there's not a lot of supplements in that space. They can't use the same stuff that the young people use, back in the day. Was there any talk of ADHD or the rising cases of ADHD at that
Not not specifically. However, there was a lot of conversation around menopause and
Mhm,
perimenopause.
mhm,
And when one begins in your 40s to
mhm,
go through perimenopause, your moods begin to shift and pretty
mm.
dramatically. And,
Yes.
the way your brain is functioning, it really is impacted by the symptoms and also by the physical changes that are taking
Mhm,
place as you
mhm,
go through menopause. And there's
mhm.
so much misinformation about menopause out there. And it really does relate directly to our mental wellness as well. And so I would recommend to any woman who is confused about it
Mhm.
to find a menopause specialist. Not
Mhm.
all gynecologists are menopause
So true.
specialists.
So true. So true. And you mentioned that it's like an out of body experience, because when I went through menopause, that it was just shocking to me because I didn't know about it. I hadn't read. Thank God there's so much information about that today. But I remember apologizing to my husband one day, telling him I'm so sorry. I don't know who I am. Because
Mm.
I was just like just a different person. And I would, go off on him when there was no reason. I'm surprised that he survived that premenopause. I mean, it's no joke. I'm laughing now, but it's no joke. And thank God women there's so much information out there about this.
There is, but there's also a lot of misinformation.
So true.
So,
So
we need to be careful
true.
as to we need to go to sources that we can trust.
Hmm.
And, gynecologists, well-meaning gynecologists, are often working off of old information rather than new information because they're so busy and involved in so many different things that,
Right.
they haven't gotten up to date on it
That
yet.
is so true. Just like, HRT, hormone replacement therapy.
That's right.
Some people love it and embrace it. Others say no, stay away from it. But some of that is the old way of thinking. I
That's
don't know
right. I
how much
would
has
say
changed.
that overall,
Hmm.
unless you have a history of breast cancer or ovarian cancer or any kind of reproductive cancers in your family,
Yeah.
it's a great idea to look at HRT with your physician.
Right.
And if your physician is not up to date on the information, find one who is
Exactly.
and get the right thing. And you want to start young, not older. If you're over the age of 65, like I am, you don't want to start on HRT. If you're already on it, that's fine. But you can't really start it when you're in your 60s because then there are some health risks involved.
Oh, that's good to know. Good to know. I started on it in my 40s, and I remember I had gone to this doctor, and he put me on it, and I remember my the fat tire, the extra spare tire around my waistline started going down. My memory started getting sharper, and the hot flashes started diminishing. And I was like, "Eureka, game changer!" Right? But
That's
then
right.
I moved and went to another doctor, and he looked at my records. Thank God, he looked at my records. He's like, "Wait a minute." He's like, "You're an HRT." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "But your mother had breast cancer.
Oh,
Her
wow.
her sister died of breast cancer in her 40s, so you shouldn't be on this at all." And he immediately took me off. and and I get where he was coming from, and I agree with him. But then the flashes start coming back. So
Oh,
if you're
wow.
able to start in your 40s and you have no history, like you said, explore HRT. Explore it.
Yeah. Let me also add that if you do have reproductive cancers and breast cancers in your family, the way you do, Marketa,
Mhm.
um, there are some solutions. And too bad he didn't introduce you to some of the solutions. So one of them being it's the progesterone that puts you at risk. And so taking the progesterone out and maybe getting a Mirena IUD uh, which serves the same purpose. Don't ask me how or why, because I
Right,
don't know specifically, but
right.
that's one solution. And there are other solutions. So that's why I say menopause specialists, they know
Yes,
what
you're
they're
so right.
doing.
You're so right. Because as for some women, the incontinence, comes into play. And so I
That's right.
interviewed a doctor recently called the Vagina Whisperer. She's in that special space, and we talked about incontinence, and it's a big part of menopause for a lot of women.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, we have a lot we have to deal with, uh, but there's a lot of supplements and I guess part of HRT as well that would help out in that space too.
Yeah, I think
For
so
that.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of innovation going on around women's health, and that's a good thing.
Yes, yes. Now we talked about food earlier. We're going to wrap this up, and we mentioned food. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Not a time to start a new eating plan, a nutrition plan. It's like, what's going to be the healthiest dish on your plate and the least healthiest dish on your plate for Thanksgiving? And you're like, I don't care.
Okay, so I actually think Thanksgiving can be a very healthy holiday eating fest.
Mhm. Yes, yes.
First of all, if you're into traditional
Uh-huh.
turkey, and you're eating like the breast in particular, the white meat,
Mhm.
just skip the skin. That's
Yes.
a pretty
Ugh,
easy.
I hate the skin. Yeah.
Yeah, just skip that. It's a good hack. And then instead of maybe using like intense gravies, use a mushroom gravy. A little bit better,
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than, it's using all the fat from it's just the thought of it kind of grosses me out.
Mhm.
But okay, so there's that. You can make cranberry sauce, which could be fun to
Mhm.
make, and
Mhm.
just don't add a lot of sugar to it.
Mhm.
Instead, maybe use some natural sweeteners like oranges. I don't know. I think that there's workarounds that you can do for that cranberry sauce. For the potatoes,
Right.
how about going with the sweet potatoes instead of just the traditional white potatoes mashed with tons of butter?
Mhm. Mhm.
Sounds really good. You
Mhm.
could still have some of that, but just put a smaller amount on your plate and then go with some really healthy sweet potatoes.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
we I actually love all that stuff. There's all that soups like the squash and pumpkin
One of my
soup.
favorite squash soup.
Yeah, so use like a bone broth instead of cream. I mean, and then you can add your favorite Greek yogurt on top to just make it
Right.
even a little richer and a more delicious. And then for dessert, pumpkin pie, blueberry pie, just if you can don't use a gluten-free crust if
Mhm.
that's appealing to you. But just a little bit of pie with some ice cream. Why the heck not?
Exactly. Thank you very much. It's one day. Just don't do like I do and have it around, and every day you're nibbling off of it.
But I think we
Yeah.
can make the meal a lot healthier without sacrificing taste.
That's true. That's true. Now, part of the Thanksgiving meal for a lot of people is wine, red or white, doesn't matter. But I'm seeing so many articles recently about wine. I mean,
Yeah.
alcohol in general. Let's start there. Alcohol and how dangerous it is, especially as we age, especially for women. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Okay, so I have really changed my alcohol intake because of the
Same here.
information that has come to light in the last couple of years on alcohol. First of all, if you're drinking a lot of alcohol and you're getting buzzed every night, that every time you're
Oh,
getting
not often.
buzzed
Yeah.
every
Right.
every
Every night.
night,
It's like, I need
you're
something.
killing
Yeah.
some
I need,
brain cells.
right. 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 And that's what you worry about. I mean, it's really information. Once you
Yeah.
start hearing this stuff and
However,
reading it, the
you
science
can
is there, the studies. Uh-huh.
there is science about that, so don't drink a lot, period. But however, one of the women that I interviewed was a researcher on Alzheimer's based in France,
Mhm.
where, as you know, they have a tradition of drinking wine. And I probed this with her, and she said, having a glass of wine, like 5 ounces of wine with your dinner so that you're not getting inebriated. Um, it's a joyful way of enjoying a good meal with friends and family. And I think she supported that. And she was a brain researcher. So,
Wow. 5 ounces.
5 ounces,
Mhm.
not every night, but maybe a couple times a week.
Okay.
I think that's acceptable. And she was saying for regular alcohol that for some reason there's some medicinal benefits to tequila.
I have heard that. I'm just saying, I have also heard that if you do
Yeah.
anything
So it's
with
like,
that
okay,
tequila
I'll have
shot
a
with
little
just a lime,
tequila.
none of
So
the sweet
just
stuff.
don't do it with a margarita mix that's filled with sugar.
Don't
It's the sugar that'll
love
kill you.
defeating the purpose. But yeah, I read this article that said just a little shot of tequila with just straight lime, you know, and you.
Yeah, or a little soda, like club soda.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But
Yeah,
you know,
you rather get the buzz.
it's not for me, but yeah, but tequila and red wine, but just 5 ounces, and not every day.
Oh,
Not every
definitely not
day.
every day.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Maddie, just tell me now. Your have we covered everything? Is there anything else you want to share
Well, yeah,
with the
I
Ageless
could go
Glamour
on
Girls
for
community?
hours.
Yes,
But
yes,
I
I
would
know, I
say
know.
that, one of the great things about the holidays
Mhm.
is that loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So that's the health risk.
Mhm.
So get together with family,
That's
get
right.
together with friends, even if it's just with one friend, or even if it's via Zoom because you're home alone. Find a
Exactly.
way to connect with other people. It's really, really important,
That's true.
and it'll make you feel better.
Hmm.
And I think that
Hmm.
that's the message I'd like to leave people with.
Oh, perfect. And I just want to add to that, here again, a growing number of studies talking about that. And
That's right.
especially women, as you age, just like go out with someone, because once you start talking, you're going to talk, you're going to hug and all of that. And yeah, so in my book, Ageless Glamour Girls Reflections on Aging, one of the chapters, one of the young ladies writes about that, how she and her husband moved to a new town and she absolutely knew no one in her mid 60s, I think it was. And she was going, it was just messing with her. And so she finally found a way to find her tribe and her people, her women, her friends, and now she's thriving. And so to your point, yes, study after study talks about that. The loneliness epidemic. And with the holidays coming, please, if there's someone in your town or about who's going to be alone, reach out,
That's
invite
right.
them over, go pick them up, because you don't want to be, oh my gosh, alone on Thanksgiving or Christmas, any holiday. It's just hard. So yeah, so please reach out and stay in touch. But thank you, Maddie. That was a very excellent point, and the because you had touched on it earlier, the loneliness, which is yeah, it's hitting older women hard. So this is why we need community. So
That's right.
and
Yeah,
I think you
community
mentioned
is really important. And you're right. You mentioned something,
that.
it's physical touch
Mhm,
really makes a difference.
mhm, mhm. But also to your point, even if you can't get to that person, FaceTime with them. Have
Yeah.
dinner together while you're FaceTiming or something. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Because
Something is better than nothing.
something is better than nothing, and we have to stick together, and help each other out. And because to your point, that the doctors are, everybody's not, aware of all of the needs of women as we get older,
That's
and
right.
and people like you and others, as I said earlier, just keep amplifying whatever you can about how we can make this ageless aging journey a little bit easier for all of us and healthier, of course, as we age.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the point of Ageless Aging. I mean, I think it became a national bestseller because women want some simple hacks, some simple action steps that they can take, many of which don't cost a penny. And
Exactly.
I would encourage anyone, any woman in her 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, there are some really practical tips that you can take advantage of that you may not have thought of.
Right. And it's never too late to start
It's
that wellness journey.
never too late or too early for that matter.
Thank you. I wish I would have started earlier. I just really got in touch like 6 months. I'm so happy. I'm just really doing the darn thing now for the first time. Well, not the first
That's
time, but
great. That's
yeah, I
great.
feel so good. I cut the hair, started, with the power haircut.
Love it. Love it. And you
And I'm
have
just,
great energy.
thank you. Thank you. And I'm just coming to my own. It's like, I am now prioritizing myself and my health, my health And now I go out walking almost every day, and I incorporate the kettlebell here at home because we know we talked about the strength training. You have to do
Mhm.
it. So I'm getting chills again because we just have to keep on embracing ourselves, self care, hashtag self care, self love.
That's
And
right.
that doesn't mean you're taking away from others, but you have to take care of yourself first, and we know that. Yes,
Unless
yes,
you take care of
yes.
yourself, you can't take care of
That,
others.
that's right. That's right. And so I have to show you her book again. We have been talking to Maddy Dychtwald, an award-winning author, public speaker, and thought leader on longevity, aging, and the new retirement. Yes, yes, yes. And here it's all about this aging revolution. It's right here in her book. It's called Ageless Aging, a women's guide to increasing health span, brain span, and lifespan. Where can we get your book, Maddy?
Anywhere. It's
Anywhere,
available on Amazon, at your
all
local
over.
bookstore, every place you might wanna get a book. And, and by the way, we're still on my website, maddydykewald.com. If
Uh-huh.
you order through there and it's just to Amazon or Barnes and Noble, one of the
Right.
booksellers, there's some bonus material that could help you to
Ooh.
get through this material a little bit easier, a little bit faster, make some
Okay.
changes that will really help you move into 2025 in a great way.
Okay. And we love hacks. We love tips, and I love hacks. And there's, speaking of tips, there are other tips in here, guys, ladies, and hacks that you need to get a hold of. So get this book so you can start your ageless aging journey or continue it, your ageless aging journey, but enhance ageless aging journey. Again, thank you so much, Maddy. Thank you
It's
so
my
much.
pleasure. Thank you, Marqueta.
And I am going to put all her contact information. I know she just mentioned her website, and I'm going to also put social media stuff and any other resources that she wants to share or that I come up on my own about this ageless aging journey, about lifespan. We'll have those resources in the podcast description. And thank you so much again, Maddy. Thank
It
you.
is my pleasure. Thank you.
Wasn't she great? And trust me, you're going to love her book. I can't wait for you to read it and tell me how you felt about the book. It's really good. Also, speaking of books, don't forget to pick up our book, Ageless Glamour Girls: Reflections on Aging, Amazon bestseller. I might add, it's an anthology. There are 13 of us, and we share different points of views and sometimes similar views, but different stories. Everyone has a chapter. So, Ageless Glamour Girls, wherever you get your books, Ageless Glamour Girls: Reflections on Aging. Now, if you want to join the conversation here on the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast, drop us a line at info@agelessglamourgirls.com. Again, that's info@agelessglamourgirls.com. And let us know if you would be interested in being in the second volume of Ageless Glamour Girls: Reflections on Aging. There's going to be a volume 2, and I would love for you to be a part of it. It's fun. It's fun. And you meet wonderful women. Now, again, email us at info@agelessglamourgirls.com. And don't forget to check out our private Facebook group. It's called the Ageless Cafe, where we share some nuggets along this wonderful ageless aging journey. And we're also on Instagram, on YouTube channel, and other social media platforms. Let's see. I think that's about it. For now, I think I've plugged my book enough. I've done all this. So it's a wrap. Again, I'm Marquita Curtis Haynes. I'm CEO of the lifestyle brand Ageless Glamour Girls, and I'm the host of the podcast. Thanks so much for being with us, everybody. Keep sharing your stories, hopefully with us, but hey, share your stories, amplify your voices when it comes to this aging game, please. Here's to healthy aging and joyful living. We'll see you again real soon, lovies. Bye bye for now.